Had a user rage at me for 10 to 15 minutes, calling myself and my colleague a disgrace. Said user then went to the manager of the organization and demanded we are removed from our roles. An important point in this would be that we were both only 2 weeks into the job, as we were replacing a third-party team in exchange for our in-house support. This back and forth went on for another hour or so until we eventually even got round to going to see the issue. You guessed it. The user hadn't turned on their computer. They doubled down on the issue and said it's our job to ensure all machines are on so they can be used. There's over 500 machines on site. I laughed. The manager laughed. We moved on with our lives. A couple years ago I worked as a graphic designer at a company offering, among other things, online training courses. As one of only 2 people under 50 in the office, I took over most of the everyday tech support. Our customers were often in the 60+ age range, so the issue was less likely to be super technical, and more an issue of guiding them through the obvious without sounding patronizing. Q sweet lady. Me, hello, office here, how can I help? SL, I'm taking the online course and no matter what answer I put in it's always saying I'm wrong. Then I have to repeat the whole section. I've tried over and over. This cost me a lot of money and I have to finish it today. Me, okay, which section in question are you on? I'll just check a few things. We'd just moved to a new system, and some errors had been found in the past few days. So I looked it up on our master list, checked the website backend, and tested the front end with a dummy account. Me, I've checked our side, and that question should definitely be multiple choice answer E. SL, but there is no answer E. Me, have you tried scrolling down? Pause. SL, oh god I'm so sorry. Me, no worries, it happens to all of us. Another story from your favorite school IT guy. %temp equals temporary teacher, %me equals me. A normal day almost over, a Wednesday I think. Knock knock. %me, come in. %temp, hey %me, it's my last day here, should I leave the computer with you here, do I need to do anything else? %me, alright, no pure fine, just leave it here and I'll wipe it clean. %temp, okay good, and by the way, the computer have a hard time starting. %me, oh okay, I'll have a look at it. Small talk and then she leaves. The computer she had was out of warranty, soon to be trashed anyways, so no problems. I finish what I was doing on my computer before I have a look at it. I notice the watermarks you can get when wiping something clean with water. I thought to myself, wow cool, she cleaned the computer before she gave it to me at least. Keyboard was cleaned, screen was clean, etc. I plug a charger in and it kills the charger, a security feature to stop the charger from back surge I guess. If you unplug the charger from wall and plug it in again it works. I unplug the external battery. Drib. 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 I've been fooled. I'm sure there's an explanation for it. I open my door and look down the corridor, there she is. Talking to another teacher. Me, hey %temp, could you come back for a SEC? They finish their convo and she comes back. I show her the damage. Temp, what happened? Me, I don't know. I was going to get parts from it and when I removed the battery it started dripping water. Temp, wow that's weird. I've never spilled anything on it. Me, then why is it dripping water? Temp, I don't know. Me, you don't know? Temp, no. Me, I'd much rather you tell me the truth, it's an old computer so I'd likely throw it away soon anyways. Maybe she admits if I say it's an old computer. Temp, no I don't know. I was expecting her to at least say she did something, maybe a colleague or student knocked something over. At least admit that it happened in your care. Nothing. I merely ushered a alright that's all, you can leave. At this point I'm fuming, not because the computer is dead but because she lied to my face. I explained the situation to my boss, but we both realized that it would cost more in working hours than we would get in damages. Moral of the story: own up to your mistakes. Forgive me for any incorrect terminology. I'm not actually in IT, but I helped IT solve a mystery. At the company I work for, most of us use these little bitty Lenovo ThinkStations. They're fine for what we do. Last summer we hired on several new people. One of them had constant problems with their ThinkStation shutting down randomly, sometimes several times a day. IT switched out ThinkStations, cables, checked the electric lines to the cubicle, switched them to a different cubicle, all to no avail. They even switched my ThinkStation with new hire's machine. I had no problems, and new hire continued to experience random shutdowns with my previously flawlessly working machine. Then, one fine day, new hire complained that their ThinkStation had shut down yet again. I happened to be standing nearby and I noticed something unusual. I called up IT right away and asked, could this be causing the mysterious shutdowns? Within minutes, the IT person who had been taking point on the problem showed up to see for themselves. They then carefully lifted new hire's glass coffee mug off the top of the ThinkStation and explained that we do not use the computer equipment as a coaster/mug warmer, because the hot glass mug was poorly insulated and was overheating the ThinkStation. New hire now has the little stand so that the ThinkStation rests upright on the narrow side and can't be used as a coaster, and there have been no more shutdowns. New hire is reportedly not very happy with this development, as they no longer have an excuse for taking forever to get any work done. I don't think new hire is going to last much longer here, but IT and I are happy. Just got off the line from this one. Background: healthcare company in the Midwest. Call it Finest Healthcare, all names fictional. A few hospitals, a bunch of clinics, and we have an association with a medical teaching facility, Midwest Medical College. We have our PCs and systems, and they have theirs, but they are connected so we can, mostly, get back and forth from one to the other. We use the Epic system for patient records. Epic is set up to use the person's finest Active Directory /PW. We use Citrix for accessing Epic and many other applications. Citrix is set up to place some of their application icons on their desktop when they log into a Finest computer. To access all their application, or if they are on a MMC computer, they can go to an internal website, portal.finest.com. Phew. Now on to the story. Caller: yeah, I can't get into Epic. It says I'm locked. Me: alright, let me take a look. Sure enough, the Epic account is blocked for too many unsuccessful login attempts. I unblock it. Okay, it's unlocked. Try it again. Caller: I don't know the password. Can I change it? Me: sure. Are you on one of the standard login PCs? In which case, you've just logged into the PC with the password you say you've forgotten. If so, do Ctrl-Alt-Del, and choose Change a Password. Caller: but I don't want to change my MMC password. Me: oh, so you're on a MMC computer? So much for my assumption. But, how are you accessing Epic? Through the portal.finest.com site? Caller: yes. Me: then you had to have logged into that with your Finest password, that you say you don't know. Sigh. Okay. I'll verify you and change your password. Verifies caller, proceeds to change AD account to temporary password. Alright, log off portal, and log back in with temp pass. It'll prompt you to change it, then you can use that new one for Epic. Caller: okay, thank you. Is it just me, or is it dumb to ask for a reset of a password you just used for System 1, just because you can't get into System 2, which uses the same password? On my recent trip to the 2 stores we bought that are 300 miles away from the home office, and home, I had many tasks to perform. But when I arrived, I found that I couldn't perform some of them at one of the stores because it had been offline for 3 days. The telco in question is, hands down, the worst phone company in the world. If you've dealt with them, you know who I'm talking about. If you haven't, you should praise the heavens at your good fortune. They were saying at the time that, despite this business account being offline for 3 days already, it would be the next day before they could have a tech on the scene. But they managed to get someone out that day anyway. They couldn't tell the truth even when it would make us happy. I suspect they grabbed the first janitor they could find and sent him out just to shut us up. He was even more inept than usual, even for the worst telco in the world. So the tech arrives, and I get a call to run up there from the other store to keep an eye on things, I guess. I arrive to find him fumbling helplessly, trying to reprogram the modem. Yeah, it's on bonded DSL, and there's no other option available, because it's that telco. At this point, in chatting with the store manager, who had been working with their help desk, I found out that while there was a, probably windstorm related, outage 3 days ago, the real problem now what the help desk had told him to do a factory reset on the modem, which set it to DHCP, when we had to have a static IP for the VPN. So the help desk insisted the circuit was up and running, but nothing worked because the modem had a different IP than what our firewall was using as a gateway. And that was somehow our fault. So the tech is standing there with a document on his table with detailed instructions on how to reprogram the modem, and all the network settings needed, which was also on a label on the modem itself, and he had absolutely no clue what to type into where. I literally had to point to each text box on his table and tell him type this number in there. 5 minutes later, we were back online. Sigh. I work in IT, and sometimes do support on the side for people/businesses, I'm sure most of us do or have done this. One of my longtime customers recommended me to a local law firm and they called me up. Did a couple of support calls for them. All were easy things: set up a VPN connection between offices, poke holes in the firewalls for various things, a few minor AD tasks, stuff like that. A couple of months in I got a call they would no longer need my services. Not a huge deal, but I decided to ask why. Turns out, I made the office mangler feel stupid because I was doing the things they asked too quickly and made it look easy. I stopped for a second and said, you realize I have done similar things every day for the past 20 years, right? It's what you hired me to do. Didn't make a difference, I made it look too easy and he thought that made him look dumb. P.S. Wow, this got more attention than I thought. This is a small portion of the side gig. Maybe $100 to $150 a month. Not a loss at all. I just thought it was amusing. After 20-something years in IT, that was a new one for me. I read a tale on TFTs from another healthcare IT person and I remembered this incident from several years ago, so I thought I'd share. A few years ago, hospitals were required to make medical records available online. For some reason, our internal IT help desk became customer service for this new portal. We weren't trained on it and didn't have access to it, so these calls frequently became a nightmare for all involved. A few of these incidents still stand out to me today. Jim stood out because we rarely spoke to the same patient twice and he called every few months. One day, I discovered why. Me, IT, this is Bacon. C, hello, my name is Jim and I need help with my portal. My wife says I need to read my lab results, blah, blah, entire life story about his hemorrhoids. Apparently, Jim had never been able to activate his account. I confirmed his info, name, job, email, etc., and created a ticket for our recalcitrant portal admin. An hour later, the phone rings and it's Jim. He got the welcome email, but the login process failed every time he entered the verification code. I was out of ideas, so I asked Jim exactly what the error message said. Maybe it would mean something to the portal admin. Jim, oh dear, I have no idea. I can write it down, but I'll have to call you back. Me, 65watt.jpg. Hey? Jim, yeah, I'll have to hang up and get the code off my answering machine and head to the library to try it again. After my brain rebooted, I explained 2FA to Jim. He seemed to understand, but Jim didn't have a PC or a cell phone. By the time he got the code, drove to the library, and logged into a PC, it had expired. Every time. I suggested a $3 burner phone from the dollar store, but that was impossible for Jim. See, his wife wouldn't let him have one because they were an instrument of the devil. Our patient portal software was terrible and I doubted it would offer any other means of 2FA, but I was wrong. Louise, the portal admin, wasn't happy about having to talk to Jim so much. He was a talkative old gent, but she found another 2FA method for him. All's well that ends well, I suppose. Jim was a nice guy and helping him certainly beat the threats of violence and firings that happened over portal issues later on.